Hey everybody, John Huber here from Maryland Education Network, brought to you by Maryland K-12. I want to talk to you a little bit about this meeting that happened last night at Towson High School regarding the threats and whatnot. I have 15 years as an administrator in Baltimore County, so if you're interested in hearing what I have to say, stay tuned. Hey everybody, like I said before, my name is John Huber, and I have a lot of experience in these very, very difficult situations. So let me just give you a couple of quick takes on this. The overall meeting itself, if you weren't there or you didn't participate, whatnot, I'm sure you can, talk to somebody who was. Nothing really major came out of this meeting, as they never do. If you followed the meeting that came not too long ago, a week or so ago, up at George Washington Carver regarding supposedly to talk about student discipline and whatnot, they really didn't talk about that. They just did something similar. So with that in mind, let me just say a couple of things here for you, hopefully provide a little insight as to what's going on as far as Baltimore County is concerned. First of all, the overall meeting. In terms of the overall meeting, I was Baltimore County they kind of let them off the hook. They didn't really force them to indicate what has actually happened. A lot of it is because of a couple of reasons. One is because they're not going to probably tell you what they're doing anyway. But even so, there was no agenda from the beginning. They just kind of opened the meeting up and said, we're going to start taking questions. What would have been good would have been if the person in charge or the person running the meeting, I'm not sure it was. I watched it on the internet, Zoom, I think it was. If the person in charge would have had said to the principal, can you tell us right now, please give us a statement, please tell us exactly what has happened in terms of what threats you received, when you received them, whatnot. And they're going to hem and haw and say, well, we can't tell you this. Well, they can tell you certain things. They can tell you that there has been a threat. They can tell you perhaps what day, how many, just some things, and just some general nature things. And then they'll stop with, it's an active investigation. We talked to the police. We're working cooperation with the police, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, as far as the overall meeting goes, it was just a long series of people asking questions, very good questions, I might add. And then it just kind of got to this, people weren't really asking questions. They just wanted to speak, and there's a difference. But anyway, overall, I wanted to see more of an agenda there. But, again, I'm not in charge. You got to remember, this is a PTA. And from what I can gather, they really haven't had much of a PTA recently, until recently. And the reason very simply is, things are fine. Parents are busy. They're in high school. That's very normal. So, Towson's a terrific community. There's no question about it. So, that's one thing. Now, immediately this whole topic of lack of communication came up. I have to tell you, folks, when I hear that, it's very difficult because it's the easiest charge of anything to levy against anybody. Lack of communication, right? Well, you're going to say lack of communication. They're going to say, we can't tell you anything. Now you have a standoff. So, that's tough. So they need to be specific about it. So they can only tell you certain things. Understandably, the police tell you nothing. They absolutely tell you to nothing. So anyway, the whole idea of lack of communication, what really I wish would have happened, which didn't, is if the principal or someone from the school board or Dr. Zarchin, I think it was there, just said, you know what, maybe we dropped the ball on that a little bit. Maybe we should have kept you a little more informed. We're really sorry about that. And from here on out, we're going to try and deliver maybe some daily updates or whatnot. And the update, because like they said, well, there's no new news to report. And someone said, well, then why don't you just tell us that? Say, hey, there's nothing new, nothing's changed. We're still working on it. So the idea of lack of communication is tough because schools don't want to communicate. Now, here's the interesting thing. Someone asked her a couple of really good questions. Like I said, one of them specifically said, whose responsibility is it to inform the parents? Whose responsibility is it to communicate? And they kind of never really answered that. I can tell you who the responsibility is. The responsibility is the principal. It starts and ends with the principal. She is the legally appointed person by the Board of Education to oversee that school. She is responsible to communicate with you, and to tell you and to tell the parents what's going on. So there's no specific job description that says, in the event of an emergency, you must communicate with the parents and such, but the question is, whose responsibility is it? It is the principal's responsibility. The people at the central office, they advise the principal on certain things. They talk to the principal very rarely. And I can tell you, because I've been in this position, something really terrible happened one time. I was an assistant principal. The principal wasn't there, so I was in charge. Something really terrible, much worse than what's going on here. And I'm on the phone to, the central office people, and they said, well, you might want to think about this, and you might want to think about that. So they will advise. Now, things have changed since then. I get it. But the principal is the sole responsible party. They're not going to tell you, and some people kept saying, tell me that it's okay for my kid to come back to school. Tell me that everything is okay. Tell me the school is safe. They're not going to tell you that, folks. I'll tell you why. Because look up the terrible, horrible shooting in Oxford, Michigan. I've done a whole bunch of videos on that. So, go back on my YouTube channel, take a look at them. There's a situation where they had this kid in the guidance office. The principal actually sent out an email to all the parents saying, everything's fine, our school's safe, these are all rumors, they're unsubstantiated, et cetera, et cetera. And then the kid went out and shot people and killed, I think, 3, 4, 5 people, whatnot. So they're not going to tell you everything's safe, because it's not. It's not safe. Go to the local shopping mall. Go to the shopping center. It's not safe if you think of it in those terms. So they're not going to guarantee anything whatsoever. So you really have to think about that. A couple other points I want to bring up now, then I'll get moving here. Number one is this. The people in the room, the BCPS people, I know many of them. I don't know all of them. I don't know Dr. Zarchin. He's relatively new. These are not school security, school threat assessment people. They're not. These are educators. These are former principals, whatnot. These are not security experts that you're talking to. These are educators and a variety of other things. So keep that in mind. Drills. That's what I really wanted to hit you on. I believe I heard in the conversation somewhere, the principal kind of said, well, we've done all our drills. And I heard some people saying, well, my child says they haven't, she's been here since 10th grade, or she had one when she was in 10th grade or something like that. And I don't know how true that is. And someone asked a question in the chat, what are the requirements in there? And I can tell you, they're required to have those drills, folks. And they are prescribed. There's a calendar for them, and they're supposed to complete them. And when they complete them, they go into the system, and they mark them off, and they put various things about them. What date, what time, what the weather was like, any notes, this sort of thing, and they submit them. Every school is required to have all these drills scheduled at the end of the year. Now, specifically what number, how many of them there are, I'm going to say it were 10 when I was there, and I retired 2 years ago. There were, you had to have a drill, a fire drill, at least one by the end of September, and there were the rest were throughout the year. But it wasn't just fire drills. You had lockdown drills. You had severe weather drills. You had what are called rally point drills. Ask the kids if they know what a rally point drill is. The rally point drills came out of the Perry Hall incident, if you remember, maybe 10 years ago or so, where on the first day of school they had a shooting in their cafeteria, and it was in the middle of class change or something like that. So we have rally point drills, severe weather drills, lockdown drills. Now they've added Alice drills, and these are all required by the there's a system in there where they check them off. And so if they're saying that they've done them and they haven't, now we're still early in the year for them, well, not really, we're a quarter of the way through. If they're saying they've done them and they really haven't, that might be a problem. That can mean somebody's in the computer system fudging some systems. And I noticed they quickly didn't really want to talk about that. So anyway, that's my little tidbit for you there. Um, Folks, it's a tough situation. They're not going to tell you what you want to hear, but you are expected to a certain amount of information. So I hope that helps. Anyway, if you want any more of my insight, I look forward to hearing from you. Send me some emails and whatnot. I'd be happy to help out on this situation, provide a little information. You want to get in contact with me, just send me something through the chat. Send me subscribe, all that stuff. And I'd be happy to help out where I can. Anyway, thanks. Have a great day.